Today on Studio One, big businesses are a sound investment for cities. We'll take a look at incentive programs that lure companies to move into a particular community. Also, jewelry is something that always stays in style. We'll see how the shiny rocks are doing this Christmas season. And we'll preview the movie Stepmom, starring Julia Roberts and Susan Sarandon.
From the University of North Dakota, with Monty Cashel and Jamie Kasager, this is Studio One.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Studio One.
We're glad you could join us today. Well, December is already here, and that means colder and colder temperatures.
Colder and colder, but we get presents soon. We're going to have the Christmas.
But that also means that, you get more colds during this season also. But there has been a study done, of course.
Of course.
That
study.
The more friends that you have and the more social interaction that you get, the less colds that you will get.
The less colds you get.
The less.
Okay, you'd think it'd be the opposite because you're talking to more people and sharing germs.
But it's like they think that you've got a higher self-esteem and you control more things, and so you're able to fight that stuff off.
Positive energy.
Yes.
That's what does it. All right, well, I'll believe it. On with the show. When disaster strikes, people often have questions. We'll talk to a man who is called to the scene of accidents to find the answers.
Also, whittling sticks as a child can lead to a lifelong hobby. We'll get hands-on experience with a woodcarver later.
But first, today's news with Jim Bush.
Thank you, Monty and Jamie. The Democratic counsel for the House Judiciary Committee made his final plea against the proposed impeachment against President Clinton today. Abe Lowell used videotapes and transcripts of grand jury testimony to argue the facts against Clinton for lying and obstructing justice in the Monica Lewinsky affair. Lowell criticized the Republican draft articles of impeachment alleging perjury as too vague. Lowell says they would not stand up as ordinary criminal charges.
While the majority convened a perjury hearing a few weeks ago, many of the witnesses were in fact talking about other crimes. And as all the federal prosecutors who testified here said, this would never be a real case in a real court.
After Lowell spoke, the Republican chief counsel gave a closing presentation. The Judiciary Committee is set to approve at least one article of impeachment. A tentative vote date in the House is set for December 15th. Once that is done, Chairman Henry Hyde promises to vote on a motion to censure the president. Christmas lights are an important part of the holiday season, but for some it gets to be a costly way of showing their Christmas spirit. The average household electric bill goes up anywhere from $8 to $10 during the holidays. But for homeowners who are putting up an excessive amount of lights, they can see an increase as high as $50 to $100.
Oh yeah, it's worth it. When it's all done, it's worth it. Coming home and watching. It's good for the kids.
Electricity providers offer these suggestions to help keep your electric costs from rising. Turn off your Christmas lights when you are not home, make sure the wires are not frayed or broken, and be sure that the lights you use are all UL approved. New modifications on airplanes could make it cheaper for passengers to fly. Airline officials say it will save up to 20% if many components are standardized. That is a huge saving considering one Boeing 747 costs $165 million. Among the many options airlines can currently choose from are over 100 shades of white, 31 cockpit clipboards, and 42 different crew rest compartments. Because of the increased savings, airline executives say airfares could be reduced. Airlines expect to purchase nearly $500 billion worth of these planer planes over the next decade. The federal government is making an effort to make drugs safer and more effective for children. The FDA recently announced a new regulation that will require manufacturers to make labels more specific for children.
The Food and Drug Administration says that more than half of the drugs approved each year for children don't have the right information on the labels. The regulation will require new drugs to have more specific information about safe and appropriate dosages for children. Pharmacists say it is important to be on the side of safety, but some feel most labels already carry specific information.
We are a very regulated industry, and the medical field is very, very regulated. It's too bad we have to add more bureaucracy to that and more laws, more regulations.
Because instructions are already on the drug labels, some parents assume the correct testing has been done.
I guess it's a good thing. If that's needed, I didn't know that it was needed. I always assumed that they already had taken care of that.
FDA officials say children will receive improved treatment because doctors will have more complete information. To make the labels even more clear, the new regulation will require drugs already on the market to undergo more tests. Now, some pharmacists say this could lead to higher prescription costs for parents trying to treat their children.
I'm afraid that this will increase the costs of some medications because there will have to be more testing done, and it does cost money. So it's too bad we can't get it any other way, but I don't know that there is a way.
Okay, oh, that's mine.
O'Donnell says this regulation will force manufacturers to address the pediatric issue and, in turn, make the drug safer to use for children. I'm Shauna Olson, Studio One.
The new regulation gives manufacturers 2 years to comply with the requirement. That's news. Now more with Monty and Jamie.
Thanks, Jim. Well, that is so important to get the labels straight on all those drugs because, you know, lots of things can happen if you don't take them correctly.
Exactly. More and more accidents will happen then. Well, let's go over now to the Regional Weather Information Center for our weather with Kyle Hilburn. Kyle?
Well, you'll have more than your daily dose of nice weather every day this weekend, as it looks like temperatures will be much above average and it will be dry. We'll get to the forecast in a minute, but first, a look at our current conditions. Outside in Grand Forks right now, we have a temperature of 32 degrees. We have a dew point of 24 and a west-southwest wind at 12 miles an hour. That's producing a wind chill of 16 degrees above zero. And we have a pressure of 30.12. As we look elsewhere around the region, we see it's warmed up nicely around Sioux Falls, 42 degrees, 46 in Rapid City, as well as Bismarck. But off to the north where we've had some cloudiness, it's helped keep temperatures down, 31 Duluth, 27 Winnipeg, and 30 degrees in Regina. But those clouds could help us keep our temperatures a little bit warmer tonight. And here's a look at them on our visible satellite. But it was a clear day for the state of South Dakota. Now, as we look at our current surface map, we see high pressure has been in force across the Rocky Mountains. Now, we have clockwise circulation around the low pressure system, and as that air moving out of the east has descended, it's heated compressionally, and that's caused the Santa Ana winds. Today, we reported a peak wind gust of 70 miles an hour in Southern California. Some more bad weather down to the south in Texas, where we have a strong upper-level system that's moving through, and it will move slowly through Friday evening through the southeast. High pressure still in force across the Rocky Mountains, and that will be the same case on Saturday evening. And as we look at the southeast, we see that system moving ever so slowly towards the east. How about our temperatures? Well, we expect some nice conditions. Now, these teens could be a little bit warmer tonight with those clouds that are around Grand Forks to Kenora and up to Winnipeg, but we can expect 20s across South Dakota. Those temperatures will be warming up nicely into 30s with a few 40s from Pierre over to the Aberdeen area. And for Saturday's lows, some warm 20s with a few warmer 30s down to the south. That'll be warming up nicely into 50s, but 30s around our neck of the woods. For all the latest current conditions and forecasts, please visit our website at www.arwick.und.edu. With these nice temperatures, it's hard to believe that it's already the second week of December. Jamie and Monty?
Thank you, Kyle. Well, that's
Gee.
definitely true. You don't think it is
bet.
December.
No, it's beautiful. And it keeps
is.
on getting more. I mean, the weather patterns are just crazy, aren't they?
They are.
El Nino, La Nina, I don't know, whatever's
Who
next.
knows?
Well, I know what's next. Here's Brian Sean with the sports.
Thank you, Monty and Jamie. The Connecticut Huskies are currently the #1 team in the country in college basketball and are led by Khalid El Amin, a former winner of the Minnesota Mr. Basketball Award. UConn and UMass in action Wednesday. Mike Babel misses, and Larry Kendner cleans up the mess to cut the Husky lead to 4. Now under a minute to go, Richard Hamilton slicing through a mob of the UMass defenders and kisses it off the glass for 2 of his game-high 20 points as UConn goes on to win 59-54. Temple playing host to Wisconsin, Mark Karcher running the break and finds Lamont long underneath for an easy deuce to bring the Owls within 4. 24 seconds to go. Temple trying to cut the lead by 2, but Wisconsin steals the inbounds pass. Mike Kelly runs the break and finds a wide-open Andy Koski, and that's a high-percentage shot as the Badgers go on to win 63-56. Florida visiting Duke, William Avery pulls up and hits one of his 8 3-pointers to extend the Duke lead. Duke Blue Devils again. This time it's Corey Maggette in the open floor. Buckle up and look out below as Duke cruises to a 116-86 victory. After a workout, more and more athletes are turning to sports drinks to quench their thirst. It is now a billion-dollar industry that has companies trying to attract athletes, especially young people. Commercial sports drinks such as Powerade, Gatorade, and Allsport come in many different flavors and provide the athletes with carbohydrates and electrolytes. Although water is the essential fluid replacer, sports drinks provide athletes with a burst of flavor.
It's beneficial because one thing is the taste, like I mentioned, because they'll drink it more because they like it. And also it is absorbed fairly quickly, so it'll get out to the body as needed too.
Trainers say when choosing a sports drink, try to avoid ones that contain fructose as the only source of carbohydrates, as they may cause upset stomachs. And now it's time for our Studio One Sports Trivia question of the week. This week's question, how many pounds does a curling stone weigh? I'll have the answer to that and more about curling in the second half hour of sports. But first, here's Monty and Jamie.
Thank you, Brian. All I know is that they're really heavy.
I think I know what it is.
Oh, don't tell me. Still ahead on Studio One, we'll meet a teacher who is opening the eyes of students to the world around them.
And we'll learn how working with skeletons can be applied to law enforcement. We'll talk to a forensic anthropologist next.
Things have changed at our house since we switched to natural gas. Now we can have fun all year round. And even Buffy can have a nice hot bath. Mom and Dad saved lots of money. So we can go on vacation and take the whole family.
Basketball, football, volleyball, from youth through adult sizes, we've got them all. At Home of Economy, Highway 81 North, Grand Forks.
It's the way we welcome the sun with 35 sunblock. The way the best water now mostly comes in bottles. It's the way we make time for exercise and like to enjoy reading. Today, more and more people are finding reasons to live healthier. That's why Subway offers 7 subs, each under 6 grams of fat. Because when you're through surfing, you might want to put on a bathing suit. Subway, it's the way a sandwich should be.
It's how you look, it's how you feel. You have a style, you have a feel.
When it comes to style, quality, and convenience, Columbia Mall is the area's ultimate shopping destination. With 3 major department stores and over 80 inviting shops and boutiques, you'll love the way things look.
When you look for more, there's a lot to see. Columbia Mall, you look great to me.
You're watching Studio One, news, weather, sports, and entertainment.
When police find skeleton remains or handles a disastrous plane crash, clear-cut answers may be difficult to find. A specialist is needed to draw conclusions about the deceased. John Williams is here today to share his experiences as a forensic anthropologist. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you.
What exactly is a forensic anthropologist?
A forensic anthropologist is one variety of anthropologist who uses the human skeleton in legal situations, anytime when the law in any form is involved.
And what do you look for in the skeletons when you're looking for them?
We usually look at a variety of different things. We start off with some very basic things of age, sex, and race. And then we look for characteristics of the skeleton that help us make an individual identification.
Okay, and you're involved with a federal team, correct, called DMORT?
That's correct.
And what does that stand for?
Disaster Mortuary Operational Response Team.
And what does that all involve then?
It's a federal team that is put together for various mass disasters. And one that I was involved in August of 1997 was the Korean Airlines crash on the island of Guam.
Okay, and what did that involve you to do?
Well, it involved a whole team of more than 100 individuals, ranging from pathologists to anthropologists to funeral directors. Essentially, we deal with all of the fatalities and attempt to identify the remains.
Okay, and what are some other unique cases that you've worked on?
Well, I've had a number of different cases, everything from missing persons to homicides.
Okay, and I believe we've got a few pictures here today. Now this one looks like a tractor with some pile of junk next to it. What does this all involve?
This is a case I worked on a couple of years ago. It was a missing person. It turned out also to be a homicide. This is at a lumber yard, and when one of the workers was cleaning away some scrap lumber, they found a badly decomposed body mixed with the scrap lumber, and that is what you're seeing on that view.
Okay, so then you just go in and kind of determine the cause of what happened, correct?
More or less.
Yeah.
The body, we take all of any remaining tissue off of the bones, and then we do just what I said before. We determine age, sex, race, and look for individual characteristics. In this case, the police already had a pretty good idea who this was, so I more or less corroborated that identification and provided some evidence of cause of death.
And we've got another one up here now. Now what is this?
This is probably one of my more fun cases in the sense that I don't get an opportunity to do this type of work too often. That same year that I was working in South Dakota, which is where that previous slide came from, some skeletons were discovered in crude coffins in northern Stutsman County. And these turned out to be early settlers, probably prior to the year 1900, probably in the mid-1800s.
Okay, and they kind of discovered it then, correct? So then did you go, were there a lot of them? Did you have to, how much time did this take for you to do?
There were 4 skeletons, and a crew of students and myself, along with some people from the State Historical Society, spent the day removing the skeletons from the coffins, and then we spent about maybe 6 months actually studying the skeletons.
Okay, and what is the most interesting case that you would say that you've worked on?
They're all interesting in their own way. It's one of the nice things about my particular field is that no 2 cases are ever the same. Probably in terms of scientific interest, one that I just recently finished involving a homicide and testifying is probably the most interesting, is perhaps also the most stressful case that I've worked on.
Okay. And you mentioned court. Do you have to go to court or testify in a lot of these cases, or?
So far, I've only actually testified in one case, and hopefully it'll be the last time I do. I know a lot of my colleagues spend a lot of time in the courtroom, and some don't, and it's a very stressful and different experience because you're in a totally different world from that of academia.
Have you always wanted to be a forensic anthropologist, or how did you come about wanting to do this?
I guess since I was an undergraduate, I've liked human biology. And this just sort of something evolved over the years. I started as a paleontologist and worked with teeth and bones. And then I started working with human skeletons. And about 6 years ago, really got a firm interest in this field.
Well, great. Thank you so much for joining us today, John.
Well, thank you very much.
Julia Roberts and Susan Sarandon add star power to a new movie. Later, we'll see how these stars collide on the big screen. But first, we'll see how an artist is painting a brighter picture for inner city youth.
Let the University of North Dakota become your strategic partner by providing your business, industry, or organization with our workforce development services. Our experts work closely with you to enhance your workforce productivity. Together, we'll help you develop innovative and practical solutions. The Office of Workforce Development has extensive experience in customizing educational programs and services. Call us for further information. Workforce Development, a service of the University of North Dakota.
Sioux Pride, the championship tradition, is strong at the UND bookstore. Before the game, shop the UND bookstore for the largest selection of officially licensed Sioux products. No matter what your sport, the UND bookstore can help you show your Sioux colors. The UND bookstore welcomes all alumni, friends, and Sioux fans. Shop for quality name brand clothing, Sioux collectibles, books, and supplies. Come to the UND bookstore located in the Student Union.
The academics are really strong. The professors
They really challenge you to learn and to apply your knowledge.
I think there's many different opportunities in different places that students can go on and off campus.
School of Engineering Minds we're kind of one close-knit community. Everybody's friendly. You're not just, a name in the crowd or a number.
I've always wanted to do engineering. What we're learning here is just hands-on.
The department has been very good about acquiring the resources we need.
I think that through this project I've gained a lot of the team working skills, leadership.
A campus that supports a wide range of degrees gives you a nice ability to round out your education.
Teaching children is a highlight that many teachers enjoy about their job. Today we spend a day in the life of an inner-city art instructor. He gives children the tools to view the world around them with more sensitivity.
A sketch pad and a piece of black chalk turns a blank sheet of paper into a piece of art within seconds. Tom Andrich uses those tools, as well as the love that he has for nature, to teach art. He teaches those students that might not get the opportunity to learn how to draw. Tom is not just teaching students how to draw, but he is helping them increase their ability to see the world around them.
One of the problems nowadays, they don't have enough art education in schools, and kids don't get the sensitivity towards their surroundings, towards wildlife, towards clouds, towards other people, because they don't really have to look at things and examine things through drawing.
His main focus is teaching students how to draw wildlife. Tom says wildlife is an attractive thing that is all around us. Many people might not see the beauty in nature, but some of Tom's students are already learning to appreciate things around them.
Like when you look at them, it's like for real. When you look at the pictures, it's like they're for real.
Yeah, and you learn about nature more, and you see how the animals that you never seen before.
Tom hopes the kids leave his class with a greater awareness of wildlife and nature and how it enhances their lives. He says it is like planting a seed, and you don't know what you're going to grow until later. From Winnipeg, Manitoba, with photographer Jim Bush, this is Mike Brookbank reporting for Studio One.
Tom says Winnipeg has one elementary school that has an art program. This class is a great benefit for those children that want to learn more about art. A star-studded cast including Julia Roberts, Susan Sarandon, and Ed Harris brings the movie Stepmom to the silver screen. In this tri-star production, Julia Roberts portrays Isabel. She is forced into the role of a stepmom to her boyfriend's children. The situation gets more complicated as the children's natural mother, played by Susan Sarandon, enters the picture.
So there's a huge conflict at play for a lot of the movie between these two women, which I found very truthful and really interesting. It's interesting to see characters be honest about that kind of stuff, even if it is really shallow, superficial pettiness.
Gigi Lavangi wrote the script based on her experience as a stepmom. The house used in the film was an original 1860 colonial structure. The movie opens nationwide on Christmas Day. Now time to take a look at the events happening in your area.
After 11 years of employment, a woman was fired from her job because she spoke Spanish to a coworker. Many employers enforce an English-only policy in the workplace. They say this keeps the workplace comfortable and under control. Civil rights activists say this is a part of a backlash against immigrants. We asked if you feel the English-only policy is necessary or discriminatory.
I wouldn't think it was discriminatory if they were hired under the auspices of being, or the shop would speak English only.
It's a free country. She ought to be able to speak whatever language she wants.
It's a good policy, just for the fact you don't know what they're saying and not everybody else is bilingual.
Discriminatory to the point where
If you are someone who speaks a different language and just choose to speak it on the job, as long as it doesn't impede the progress of the company or the production of the company, you certainly have the right to speak whatever language you want.
That the English-only policy is discriminatory because, like it says in the Constitution, that we do have our freedom of speech wherever we are. So I believe that people who are comfortable with their own language should be able to speak it in the working area.
Wearing jewelry is an intimate experience. It can affect how you look, how you feel, and how others react to you. We want to share a few tips that might be helpful in choosing a gift.
Rubies are red, sapphires are blue. I am in love with wonderful you. For thousands of years, jewelry has been known as a treasured and valuable gift. However, this is not the only value it possesses. Colored stones have come to carry special mystic meaning. Diamonds are the symbol of personal clarity and offer healing properties, while amethyst is used to increase spirituality.
It's based on the breastplate stone of the 12 stones that the head rabbi of the Jewish faith wore.
Gemstones therapy is an alternative technique for strengthening the body. They carry vibrational rates that can affect the body. Mother Nature united cinnamon and amethyst, and two became one. This gem has become very expensive because of its rarity. 95% of all rings are made of recycled material. If you want to design a ring, first you need to cut it from wax. A special ceramic medium is altered by water. Varnishing is the final process that adds the sparkle. Quality of gold and its color come from alloy.
So the 10-carat ring is usually a little tougher. Anything over 14 gets kind of soft. And so I'm amazed they're mixing platinum with 18 so much, because you have the softer 18 and the platinum that's almost indestructible.
Pendants and rings are the most common gifts. However, you can ask even for a metal cartoon face.
Part of cartooning is making fun of an individual, taking something that is, if they have a specific look, a specific nose, or the way their eyes or whatever, and you expand on that to the point of cartoon, to where it's just a caricature, and you do that out of metal instead of out of pencil and paper.
I am Katerina Glad for Studio One.
Something for everyone. In India, some jewelers pound the gold so thin that you can see right through it. The holiday season brings out creativity in many people. Later, we'll get a close look at the detailed and artistic work of a woodcarver. Plus, we'll learn about the competition that exists between cities for businesses. That story plus news, sports, and the updated weather forecast in the next half hour on Studio One.
Look around our communities on the prairie, and you'll see pride, determination, and a dedication to excellence, much like the values at Rydell Chevrolet Oldsmobile and Cadillac. We believe that nothing has greater value than our people, people who strive to provide automotive products and services that exceed our customers' needs and expectations. In the end, it all comes down to one simple philosophy: customer enthusiasm.
Welcome to Sanders 1997, the Millennium Cafe. We have moved, but we still have the same great food, excellent service, and unique atmosphere. We've even added a new climate-controlled wine cellar, where we offer a large selection at the right temperature. Reservations are recommended, but we welcome walk-ins. Call 746-8970. Hope to see you soon at Sanders.
Are you a parent looking for childcare? Do you know what good childcare looks like? Do you provide childcare and have questions? Does childcare affect your business? Do you have employees who are concerned about childcare? Doesn't every child deserve quality childcare? Any questions? Call Child Care Resource and Referral.
The University of North Dakota's College of Business and Public Administration is nationally and internationally recognized as a center of excellence.
We actually created a business plan for this small retail store, which is now being used.
It's introducing me to technology that'll be used in my business work environment.
For more information about the UND College of Business and Public Administration, phone 1-800-CALL-UND.
From the University of North Dakota, with Monty Cashel and Jamie Kasager, this is Studio One.
Welcome back to Studio One.
Thanks for joining us. Well, the new craze in toys is Furbies, right? That's the big thing this Christmas.
That's
well,
what
you
it
remember
is.
the Beanie Babies? That wasn't too long ago. I have a story here for everyone. There was a woman who used stolen credit card numbers to feed her habit, has been given 6 months in jail, 5 years probation with the condition she doesn't touch her drug of choice, Beanie Babies. She was stealing credit cards, getting up to $8,000 worth of these rare Beanie Babies.
Really?
And police found, 206 Beanie Babies shoved in a plastic container underneath her bed.
Some people love them, I guess.
Stay away. Coming up in the next 30 minutes on Studio One, extensive training can turn man's best friend into a helpful guide.
Also, incentive programs allow for give and take between businesses and communities.
And we'll transform a wooden block into a man who stuffs socks. It's not magic, but we'll let you in on a secret. But first, today's news with Jim Bush.
Thanks, Monty and Jamie. NASA launched the first of 2 Mars missions today in Cape Canaveral. The Climate Orbiter will spend 2 years in the Mars orbit. Its job, to survey how the Martian atmosphere works. NASA scientists are hoping the Climate Orbiter will help figure out what happened to the water that was once on Mars. The spacecraft will record temperature, pressure, and actual weather patterns on the surface. In January, NASA will launch a lander that will head for Mars's south pole. The orbiter should reach Mars next September, while the lander will arrive in December. As President Clinton's visit to Israel draws close, emotions are running high in the Middle East. 2 years ago, Bill Clinton was hailed as the best friend Israel ever had in the White House. Posters make it clear that many Israelis have changed their views about the president. Many feel that President Clinton would put pressure on the Israeli Prime Minister to compromise his position concerning the Palestinians. On Thursday, 2,000 mourners gathered to mark the death of a Palestinian laborer shot dead during clashes with Israeli soldiers. President Clinton is due to arrive in the region this weekend to try to diffuse tension and shore up the tattered Y Accord. CD recorders are now on the market, but the new technology is raising some concerns. CD recorders can copy anything from disc to disc, including music, data, and video programs. With the rising cost of new CDs, the idea of a recordable CD player could be very appealing to many music fans. With this in mind, some people in the music industry fear CD recorders may affect sales, but right now it doesn't seem to be a problem.
Actually, the CD writers haven't affected our store. The only thing I have noticed is people coming and asking for the blank CDs used in the CD writer machine. Maybe in the future, as the prices drop, we'll see a decrease, but as of right now, nothing has changed.
CD recorders range anywhere from $400 to $1,000. In the past, anti-theft devices have been used in VCRs to stop home duplicating. A similar plan is in the process for CD recorders to stop unlawful copying. In the near future, technology may change the way you listen to the radio. Voice command is all the personal audio cast system will need to queue up preferred news stories while you drive. The car radio launches an audio browser and goes on the web to search for requested news articles. A listener will be able to ask questions like, "Is it going to rain today?" The browser then searches for weather forecasts to answer your question. The inventors hope to eventually make the system compatible to answer and screen incoming cell phone calls. Going blind after years of seeing would be difficult, but with the help of four-legged friends, that challenge is made easier for many people.
The job of a seeing eye dog is a remarkable one. The way they guide the blind through life and the partnership that is created along the way. This unique companionship is something most of us will never experience. Gary Bornstead is blind. 8.5 years ago, he got rid of his walking cane and was paired up with Toby, his seeing eye dog.
When you get a dog, he takes care of most of that. A lot less pressure on the head. You just hang on and he'll keep you on the sidewalk. He'll stop at intersections. It relieves pressure.
This yellow lab Toby is more than a man's best friend. He leads Gary everywhere, never leaving his side. But not all dogs are fit for the job. Extensive training is required from both the dog and the owner.
For 4 weeks, I trained every day with Tobe. So they do quite a, expose you to most everything that you can.
Gary works as a data specialist at the School for the Blind. When Gary is working, Toby leads him around or takes a nap at his feet. At work or at home, Toby is by his side. It is a full-time job. Without his 4 little legs to guide him, Gary says he couldn't do half the things he does. Gary also says the amount of trust shared between him and Toby forms a special bond.
I rely totally on him when I'm walking.
Gary says as long as Toby has his eyesight, the two will be together every step of the way.
As long as he can see, it would be very hard on him and me to say, no, you can't go. I'm not looking forward to that.
I'm Joanna Storty reporting for Studio One News.
The average working life for a seeing eye dog is 10 years. After retirement, these dogs are mostly kept as pets. That's the news. Now more with Monty and Jamie.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Well, it's just amazing, those dogs, what they can do. I mean, I know a few people actually that use them. And one thing to do is to make sure that you don't pet them too often because they're working. They always warn you, not to pet unless they say it's okay.
They're pretty cool dogs.
They're neat.
Let's go over now to the Regional Weather Information Center for our updated weather with Kyle Hilburn. Kyle?
It'll be a beautiful weekend to do some of the last-minute Christmas shopping before the holidays with our warm temperatures and dry conditions. We'll talk about the forecast in a minute, but first I'll look at our current conditions. Outside in Grand Forks right now we have a temperature of 29 degrees. The dew point's sitting at 23. The wind has dropped off quite a bit. It's only out of the west now at 3 miles an hour, so our wind chill has popped up to 27 degrees, and we have a pressure of 30.12. As we look at the upper level flow, we see the jet stream has sagged to the south a bit, and behind it some cooler air, but it's had a chance to modify quite a bit, so we have some very mild temperatures. Now for this weekend, it'll start to move up towards the north, and with it we should see a beautiful weekend with just the occasional disturbance moving on through. As we look at our current Saturday evening surface map, we see high pressure still in force for the Great Basin area, and that'll start to move towards the east as we move into Tuesday. Meanwhile, high pressure will build out in the Pacific Ocean and move on in. As it does, we can expect a quick system to move through, and with it, the chance of some flurries by Tuesday. But this weekend, it looks to be quite dry, with no precipitation expected at least until Tuesday, and mild temperatures anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees above average. Jamie and Monty?
Thank you.
Well, it's great to go outside and take walks, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Beautiful outside.
Maybe take the dogs out.
That's true, take the dogs out. Did you figure out Brian Sean, our sports person's question of the week?
I think I have
How
an
heavy
idea.
is a curling rock?
Yes,
You do?
yeah.
Well, let's find out. Brian?
Thank you, Monty. Curling is a sport not many people know about. However, curling's popularity is on the rise as more and more people are getting involved with this winter sport. Most people that curl say it is a sport of fitness and finesse. The goal is to place these granite rocks into a 12-foot circle using only a broom. The broom removes debris and warms the ice to provide a thin layer of water for the rock to slide on. Although this may not sound all that difficult, hurdlers say it is not as easy as it seems.
You got to learn how to slide, and you have to learn how to, just the whole concept of how it works, of the curling and when to sweep and how much weight to throw.
Most curlers say that the game is addicting after you've played it a few times because there are so many different aspects of the sport to improve on. Although the game is rather competitive, most curlers play the game for fun and relaxation while spending time with old friends and meeting new ones.
The people are so friendly. It's just like a big friendship. Even if you don't know someone, they're you know curling, you know them.
Some curlers say the game takes years to perfect, and it is difficult to be consistent from week to week. Those who curl say it is an easy game to learn, and anyone can play the game no matter what your athletic ability is. Curling is a sport that involves many different age groups, from youngsters to seniors.
Well, it's a great sport for all ages. We have kids that come out that are 6 years old that can start to learn the game and can do quite well at it. And it's not unusual to see people still curling in their 70s and into their 80s, so it's a lifelong sport.
Curlers are hoping that exposure of the sport will help people become more familiar with it in the future. In 1998, curling became a full-fledged medal sport in the Olympics, which has led to a rise in its popularity all over the world. And now it's time for the answer of our Studio One sports trivia question of the week. How many pounds does a curling stone weigh? 42 pounds is the answer. That's all for sports today. Monty and Jamie.
Thanks, Brian. Who would have knew? Are you ready for
I was
some?
right.
Are you ready? You knew that's what
Yeah.
it was? You want to hear some curling lingo?
Yeah.
It's the only sport where it's okay to throw rocks in the house. All right, save your scraps of wood. We'll show you how homemade gifts with a personal touch can be made with them.
And we'll learn about the supportive relationships between cities and businesses. That story is next on Studio One.
The community you live in is the place you call home. We call it home too. We're your neighbors, your friends, your local bank. We're Community National Bank, and we care about you. That's why when you bank with us, you'll know you're not just banking with anyone. You're banking with people you know and trust. Full-service banking with personal attention from one neighbor to another. We're Community National Bank, and we care about you.
Basketball, football, volleyball, from youth through adult sizes, we've got them all. At Home of Economy, Highway 81 North, Grand Forks.
Different moods make you want different treats. Like when I need a creamy kick, it's the TCBY Cappuccino Chiller. Other days, I'm into sharing, so I take home TCBY treats to go. And any day's right for a cup of the cool stuff. Great taste and amazingly low fat.
Grab a TCBY waffle cone at a special sale price at your TCBY treat shop. Or make it a sundae for just 50 cents more.
Today, it's definitely a waffle cone.
It's how you look, it's how you feel. You have a style, you have a feel.
When it comes to style, quality, and convenience, Columbia Mall is the area's ultimate shopping destination. With 3 major department stores and over 80 inviting shops and boutiques, you'll love the way things look.
When you look for more, there's a lot to see. Columbia Mall, you look great to me.
You're watching Studio One, news, weather, sports, and entertainment.
Many people think about starting a business. It's a big process, and there are many decisions that entrepreneurs must make. One problem business owners must face is where to set up shop.
Businesses are always trying to draw in more customers. Competition is fierce. But there is also competition between cities to draw in these businesses. Cities compete by offering many incentives to the company, like low-interest loans or grants. But these incentives are used for more than drawing new business into the city. They are also offered to keep the business and give them the ability to expand. In Grand Forks, North Dakota, Dick Olson works with these incentive programs.
If you don't have incentives, people are going to steal your companies. But the competition is intense. There are cities spending, hundreds of millions of dollars to bring companies in.
Grand Forks has a growth fund that provides financial support to new or expanding companies in the city. Money for the growth fund comes from part of the city sales tax. Many businesses take advantage of the incentives that cities have to offer. Cirrus Design is one of them. Cirrus designs and manufactures airplanes. After deciding to expand its company to Grand Forks, they went to the City Growth Fund for support.
If those incentives and benefits had not been offered to Cirrus Design Corporation, we wouldn't be here. It's that simple. Okay, there's a lot of economies of scale. There's a lot of things that the city can do to draw large businesses, and for that matter, small businesses into the local geographic area. We wouldn't be here if that hadn't been done.
Those deals are right. They're the fun ones. The city, through its growth fund, is able to help create something that just wouldn't have happened otherwise. And it ends up being a real good business deal.
One way the city helped Cirrus get started was to buy stock in the company. Within a few years, the city expects to make back 8 to 10 times the original investment. Many businesses rely on financial incentives to decide where they want to locate. But there are other benefits for a business to consider, like the quality of life.
If I give you a low-interest loan, 3-4 years from now, that benefit's gone. Give you tax exemption, 5 years, it's gone. If we've got a state and a city that give you a stable workforce, a stable tax base, a good quality of environment, those things last forever.
Many businesses take advantage of the assistance, but some critics might argue that incentives, like tax breaks, take potential money out of the city's tax base. But Olson says before it invests in a business, the city has to look closely at what it will get